Hey, it's the Rooster, Bobby Leach with the Times Weekly Sports Desk. Let's break down our athletes' 15 minutes of fame in the past week. Let's break down the University of St. Francis week in sports for all you brown and gold fans out there, especially football fans. It's been a heck of a week. Let's talk about last Saturday when the Saints invited Trinity International to Memorial Stadium and whipped them 48-17, using 426 yards of total offense on the night. Junior quarterback E.J. White had a heck of a night, 169 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns, and junior running back Anthony Hubert, he went to 129 yards on the night. This is the 16th out of the last 17 times that your Saints have beaten an unranked NAIA opponent. This week they'll be idle, but never fear, there's something coming up for the Saints. But the Saints will be back at home, Grandview University, October 27th at home. But if you're missing football and you really want to get your fix on football, this Thursday night, October 18th, Jim McMahon, former Chicago Bear quarterback and Super Bowl champion, and the punky QB, and you just never know what's going to come out of McMahon's mouth, at an event like this. So it ought to make for some great entertainment, some great conversation. So get to the 36th annual Brown and Gold Night over at the University of St. Francis, Thursday, October 18th. Make sure that if you haven't gotten tickets yet, go out and get them. Let's also talk about the Saints volleyball. Saints women's volleyball has been on a roll, especially last weekend at the Big Gun Classic. They opened with sweeping Ashford University in 3 games, then went out and beat Cornerstone University in 4 games. Jasmine Robbins led the team with 17 kills against Ashford, and Paige Reinhardt from Bolingbrook High School collected 5 blocks against Cornerstone. So congratulations to the girls or women's volleyball team over there, and they're having a better year. They're starting to come together a little bit, and a very young team, but a very talented team. Over at Lewis University, the Lady Flyers volleyball team came from down 2 sets against Northern Michigan and beat them in 5, improving their record to 13-8 on the season. A phenomenal recovery for them. The first 2 games, 19-25, 18-25, so they lost by a handleable margin, and then they flipped the tables on them, beat them 25-18, 25-23, and 15-12 in the final tiebreaker. So congratulations to the Lady Flyers. Congratulations to Lewis University women's doubles pair, where they finished 5th place in the National Small College Championships last Friday. That pair of Sophia Lanstiak and Sophia Kranzicki finished in 5th place after advancing. So, again, congratulations to those ladies. It's time for the Times Weekly Area Top 12 Football Poll done by moi every week. Catch it here right on the TimesWeekly.com. Let's talk about number 12 first, Joliet Central, who invited Lincoln Way East to the field on Saturday, and I think that they wanted to get out of there as quick as they can. Good for the Steelmen that the season is drawing to an end after being pounded the last 2 weeks in a row by HF and now Lincoln Way East, 49-0 at home on Saturday. This week they see another Lincoln Way school, Central this time, and see another loss. 35-6, I'm predicting, ending another tough winless season, making it 3 in a row for the Steelmen. Maybe next year they'll get that elusive win. Coming in at number 11 is the Romeoville Spartans, who traveled to Oswego East last week and got brutalized 37-12 on the road, dropping to 0-8 on the season. And I got to believe they were wishing this season was over in a hurry. Although this coming week, they'll invite Minooka for one last game, week 9. Minooka coming off a loss to Plainfield North, a real tough one for them because that knocked the Indians out of the playoffs, which means they're not going to be real happy in week 9. They're going to look to make the statement. I think they'll get it done 40-13 in a win over Romeoville, as the Spartans will now have to look to the weight room and chalk talk in the offseason and hope that they can get back to at least 500 next season. Coming in at number 10 is the Lockport Porters, who are having a real tough season. They dropped to 1-8 after a 34-14 loss to Sandburg last week. They did hang with Sandburg in the first half. The defense kept it close. Very spirited contest. And they showed some signs of life on offense with a new quarterback that came in. This week they're going to finish off their season against Bolingbrook. They'll get shut out 33-0 at home and have to go back into the offseason and lick their wounds and try to get back after it next year. At number 9 in our poll is the Plainfield East Bengals. Anytime you get two cats together to fight, there's always a scrap. And that was true on Friday night when they hosted Plainfield Central, but lost 14-0. The Bengal offense was a no-show last week. This week they travel to Plainfield South and play better, but I still think they're going to lose this game 28-20 and end their season at 2-8. Coming in at number 8 this week are the Minooka Indians, who traveled to Plainfield North. And let's just say there was no tomahawk chop going on at Plainfield North last Friday night, when the Tigers beat the Indians and knocked them out of the playoffs in a pretty close contest, 28-20. This week they'll finish on the road at Romeoville with a 40-13 win over the Spartans, but it's too little, too late for Minooka. Coming in at number 7 are a very improved Joliet West Tigers squad, who invited Homewood Flossmoor to their field Saturday, and they didn't look very improved. Homewood Flossmoor jumped out to a 34-0 first quarter lead, had a running clock to start the third quarter, and a 49-8 thumping of the Tigers at home in week 8. This week it only gets tougher when top-ranked Lincoln Way East hosts the Tigers at home and sends them packing with a 42-0 loss, ending their season, albeit improved, but still back to the weight room for another try next year. Coming in at number 6 this week are the Plainfield South Cougars, who had to travel to top-ranked, at least SBC top-ranked, Oswego, and got whipped 52-7. Cougars' playoff hopes were absolutely smashed on the road the last 2 weeks in a loss to Plainfield Central, followed up by that Friday night loss to Oswego. This week, South will finish at home, and they'll finish on a high note with a 28-20 win over Plainfield East. Dropping in at number 5 this week are the Plainfield Central Wildcats, who traveled to Plainfield East last week in search of their 6th win to guarantee a spot in the playoffs. Mission accomplished. The Wildcats went to Plainfield East and beat them 14-0 on the road, securing a playoff spot, which last season they were a bubble team and didn't get in after a loss to Romeoville in week 9. This week the Wildcats will finish their season on the road and lose again in week 9, this time to Oswego. They're going to get pushed around something along the lines of 40-14 and limp into the playoffs. Dropping to number 4 on our poll this week, surprisingly, is a banged-up Joliet Catholic team without Tyler Reitz and without Ty Isaac. They went to Niles Notre Dame last week, and the Dons hung one on them, 42-33. Got to give credit out to Mike Ivelo, who rushed for over 200 yards in the game, but it simply wasn't enough. This week, they invite a 7-1 Bennett team, and let me tell you, folks, Bennett's for real. They're going to have their hands full, the Hilltoppers will. I don't think that you'll see Isaac or Reitz, but this has been a tough season. They've already got their 5 wins. They're making the playoffs. I think they're going to wait this one out and get healthy. I think they'll end up losing to Bennett 45-27 at home, lick their wounds, and get ready for a run at state championship number 14. Don't count them out just yet. Knocking at the door at number 3 are the Plainfield North Tigers, who made me look pretty good last week when they beat Minooka 28-20. I think I predicted that game 27-20, so we were 1 point off, but what a heck of a game for the Plainfield North Tigers, and a big win for them coming off a loss to Oswego the previous week. The Tigers did make me look good. They closed the contest out, securing their spot in the postseason with 6 wins. This week, North is going to travel to Oswego East. They'll finish strong with a 35-14 win and then hope for a good seeding matchup in week 1 of the playoffs. Coming in at number 2 this week are the defending 8A state champion Bolingbrook Raiders. Without Aaron Bailey, they found themselves out of the woods. Actually, they found themselves in the woods in the form of sophomore quarterback Quincy Woods, who had a sensational game against Lincoln Way Central on Friday night to get the Raiders back on a winning track and get their offense showing signs of life, winning that contest 40-7. Bolingbrook will end their regular season at 7-2 after they beat Lockport this week on the road 33-0 and prepare for another playoff run. Topping off our poll in week 8, the Providence Catholic Celtics. And let me tell you something, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And if you're a Celtic fan, you've been rocking and rolling with this team all season long. Let's get to the heavy metal, shall we? Saturday evening, Providence at St. Ignatius. Ignatius gets whipped 43-6. That sets up a huge contest Friday night in New Lenox. Mount Carmel coming to town. They're at 7-1. Both teams one game behind Loyola, who faces St. Rita on Friday night. If Loyola loses to St. Rita, then this game means everything to both teams, Providence and Mount Carmel. If whoever the winner is wins that game, should Providence beat Mount Carmel, which I think they will, they'll win a share of the Chicago Catholic Blue Conference, despite the fact that they did lose to Loyola earlier in the season. I think this week's game against Mount Carmel is going to be a monster game. It's typically, our game of the week. And bottom line is, I think Providence is going to squeak this one out. I think their defense is going to come and rise to the occasion. They did beat Mount Carmel last year, so Mount Carmel's got an axe to grind. But I just think Providence is on a roll right now. I'm going to call this a really close game. Let's call it along the lines of 28-24. As I say in the business, that's a wrap. This has been The Rooster, Bobby Leach for the TimesWeekly.com. Hey, make sure you pick up our newspaper every Thursday where you can read my rant. It's free and it's in local area stores all over the place. Hey, remember also, winners never quit, quitters never win. We'll catch you next week right here on the TimesWeekly.com.